why certain people drain you even when they haven't done anything wrong. You ever notice how some people exhaust you without ever raising their voice, demanding anything, or treating you badly? They don't attack you. They don't criticize you. They don't cross your boundaries directly. And yet, every time you talk to them, something inside you tightens. You feel your energy slipping. You feel the pressure to be on. You walk away from the interaction feeling strangely empty, like you've given something you didn't realize you were giving. And you tell yourself you're being dramatic, that nothing happened, that you're tired for no reason. But that's not true. Your body is telling you something your mind keeps ignoring. There's this thing that happens when you grow up being the emotional stabilizer in your family. You learn to scan people without even realizing it. You learn to sense their moods, their subtle shifts, their unspoken needs. Not because you wanted to, but because you had to. Maybe you had a parent who was unpredictable, so you learned to monitor them to keep yourself safe. Maybe you had a sibling who relied on you emotionally, so you became the caretaker before you ever understood the word. Maybe you were the peacekeeper, the one who absorbed tension so the household wouldn't explode. You learned early that your role was to regulate other people. And once your system adapts to that role, it keeps doing it long after you leave that environment. That's why certain people drain you, not because they're bad, because your body slips into the old role without asking your permission. You sense a tiny shift in their tone and your brain goes, fix it. You notice the slightest discomfort in their expression and your nervous system whispers, make it better. You feel their anxiety, their sadness, their tension, and you carry it automatically, unconsciously, instantly. You're not tired from the person. You're tired from the emotional labor your system performed without your consent. And the strangest part, the people who drain you the most are often the ones who aren't doing anything at all. They're not yelling, they're not demanding, they're not difficult, they're just not okay. They're unsettled, unsure, anxious, insecure. And because you're wired to sense the emotional temperature of a room, you pick up on their discomfort like a frequency only you can hear. You don't just notice it, you absorb it. You adjust yourself the way you've been trained to by trying to make them feel better, calmer, more reassured, more stable. You become the emotional buffer. Not because they asked you to, because your body learned that proximity to discomfort is dangerous. People think emotional drain comes from conflict, but for you, it comes from resonance, from feeling too much of what isn't yours. You've carried other people's emotions for so long that it feels automatic. And when someone else has a need spoken or unspoken, your sister responds before your mind even catches up. This is why you don't get drained by everyone. You get drained by the people your nervous system identifies as needing something. It could be reassurance, validation, attention, emotional support, even silence. It could be something they don't even know, they keep projecting, but you feel it. And because you were conditioned to earn safety by meeting other people's needs, your body jumps into action. You ever notice how around certain people you become unnaturally polite, or overly agreeable, or slightly tense, like you're monitoring yourself in real time? That's not personality. That's survival training. That's your system preparing to take responsibility for the emotional atmosphere the way it used to in your childhood home. And that's why even harmless interactions leave you drained there, triggering a role you were never meant to hold in the first place. But there's another layer here. The people who drain you the most often remind you on some subconscious level of someone from your past. Not in appearance, not in behavior, but in the emotional field around them. The uncertainty, the neediness, the fragility, the subtle emotional instability, and your body reacts to them with old instincts. Not because they he and sive now, but because they feel like someone who once was. Your nervous system doesn't distinguish between past and present. It only recognizes patterns, and you're not imagining the exhaustion. Emotional labor is real. Hypertumen is real. Being the buffer for someone else's discomfort is real. If you've spent your life smoothing the tension in a room, your brain equates other people's emotions with your responsibility. And responsibility is heavy even when silent. But here's the thing, nobody tells you you're allowed to feel drained. You're allowed to not want to be around people who make you feel responsible for their emotional experience. You're allowed to protect your energy without needing a dramatic reason. Some people drain you simply because your body won't stop trying to save them. So what do? How do you stop this pattern? You start by noticing when your body shifts. Noticing the moment you tense your shoulders, or change your tone, or adjust yourself to make someone else more comfortable. You watch the instinct before it takes over. You ask yourself, is this mine to carry? Most of the time, it isn't. And it never was. You also learn to tolerate the discomfort of not fixing things. Because that's what healing actually looks like for people like you, not becoming emotionally cold. Not becoming detached, but becoming able to sit with someone else's discomfort without sacrificing your own peace. Letting their anxiety be their anxiety. Letting their insecurity be theirs. Letting their silence or tension or uncertainty exist without responding as if it's a threat. It'll feel wrong at first. You'll feel guilty, selfish, cold. But that's just your old programming, trying to keep you in the role you've outgrown. And the moment you resist the instinct to regulate someone else, something shifts. You begin to see that you can be compassionate without being consumed. You can be supportive without being drained. You can be present without being responsible. Because the truth is, you were never meant to be everyone's emotional anchor. You just learned to be one because no one anchored you. And healing is learning to step out of the jobs your childhood assigned you and into the life your adulthood actually belongs to.